I want to start this video off right by saying Merry Christmas because I totally intend, as of the recording of this video, for this video to come up on Christmas Day. Now, saying that out loud means that YouTube is definitely going to mess with my channel, and this will likely be delayed 2 to 3 days. But Merry Christmas, it's the thought that counts, and I hope you guys appreciate it. And as if the gods were trying to give me a Christmas present, the Young Turks are having a fight with one Jimmy Dore, a former employee at the Young Turks, all about this weird force the vote issue pertaining to Medicare for All. Now, a lot of you, and I mean a lot of you, have been sending me tweets, videos, and all this stuff talking about the dispute between TYT and Jimmy Dore, and I understand why you're doing so. We're going to go through what I found to be the most funny about this argument. We're going to talk about the substance of the issue, and I'm going to tell you who's right and who's wrong when it comes to this fight between Jimmy Dore and the more far-left progressives and Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks. But first, I just want to talk about how petty this fight is getting. At certain points on Twitter, which by the way, these people were theoretically friends, so they could be talking this out in private, but this is all on Twitter, Jimmy Dore decided he was going to call Cenk Uygur a union buster and talk crap about him because he was taking a $20 million investment from Jeffrey Katzenberg. On top of that, he's been dogging Cenk about his constant fundraising drives, and this has been so effective at devastating Cenk among his own audience that the Young Turks video, their latest one asking for money, even though all their videos ask for money, but this latest one specifically asking for money, is completely underwater in likes to dislikes, and the comments on this video are absolutely savage. But it's not just Cenk Uygur and Jimmy Dore that are fighting each other. Jimmy has also taken aim at Anna Kasparian, and Anna Kasparian is really mad about Jimmy Dore attacking her based on her non-existent integrity. And what's great about this is that Anna Kasparian is so unskilled in the way that she goes after people, and she's not used to getting backlash for attacking people because she's constantly always attacking people on the right or in the mainstream media who couldn't care less what Anna Kasparian has to say about them, that Anna can't defend herself without blatantly contradicting herself. First, she gets mad at Jimmy for insinuating that the Young Turks' integrity, that their opinions, their editorial staff is being influenced by the money that they receive from Jeffrey Katzenberg and other corporate sponsors and other investors. Now, this is fantastic for, 10 million different reasons. First and foremost, the Young Turks as an organization is constantly talking about how everybody who disagrees with progressives is paid to disagree with them. They talk about how the Republicans are paid by their donors in order to deny progressive policies, and the establishment Democrats, they're paid to lose. So it's pretty funny for Jimmy Dore to throw something that he probably learned from the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur specifically right back at them when they end up being the ones who are taking money from Jeffrey Katzenberg, a huge Democratic donor. Now, we've already gone over multiple times about how Cenk's theory of everything is money in politics is completely wrong, and one of my friends who you guys managed to get to 11,000 subscribers, and I really appreciate you guys for doing so, Stephen Michael Davis, actually has a great video showing that while it is true that 90% of the races, the candidate with the more money actually ends up winning that race, in reality, only 5 to 10% of the races are even competitive in the first place, and when you actually examine the races that had competitive challengers, it turns out that money does not win more than 50% of time in these races. But since Cenk and Anna have been so committed to this idea that money in politics inherently corrupts everything and it buys off politicians in order to make them do the bidding of the corporate donors, they can't look into that and present a counter argument to Jimmy Dore, so they just have to take this one on the chin. They took money, therefore they're corrupt. That's what the Young Turks say all the time on their platform, and Jimmy Dore is giving them a taste of their own medicine. But it actually gets worse than that, because again, Anna Kasparian, completely unskilled in responding to criticism, ends up completely contradicting herself in her very tweet, because she talks about how wrong it is to say that people sold out just based on the fact that they took money and they disagree with you. But then she brings up the fact that Jimmy Dore recently bought a $2 million house and that he is actually saying all this stuff in order to make himself money in order to pay his mortgage. So in one fell swoop, one tweet, Anna Kasparian says it's wrong to say that people sold out because they disagree with you politically, aka the entire premise of the Young Turks as a program, their entire mission statement. If you were to boil them down into one sentence, this would be the entire premise of their arguments. And then She says that Jimmy Dore sold out, and the reason he sold out is because he's making a lot of money and he needs to pay that mortgage. So which one is it? Is the entire premise of your show completely wrong and incorrect, like it is in reality? Thus, everything that you've done over the past couple of years, or 10 years, or however many years the Young Turks have been on, has been completely stupid and irrelevant? Or is Jimmy Dore also selling out because he has a $1.9 million house and he needs to pay that mortgage? It appears that Jimmy, the student of Cenk's school of never attacking the policies and always attacking the motive, has become the master in this scenario. And what's great about this fight is that it extends far beyond the Young Turks. It just has the potential to divide so many progressives. It also perpetuates something that we've talked about in the past, which is a betrayal narrative against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that she somehow has sold out to the Democratic establishment and isn't a real progressive. Yes, these people in the Jimmy Dore camp think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not progressive enough. So Jimmy Dore is attacking her constantly for not forcing this Medicare for All vote. And the Young Turks, the whole purpose of the fight, because they always back Ocasio-Cortez, are trying to defend her from Jimmy Dore, thus unleashing this venom onto the internet. Now, as far as the substance of this issue, which is way less interesting than the drama between Jimmy Dore and his former employer, Jimmy Dore is 100% wrong on this, and it's not even close. What Jimmy Dore wants the Democrats to do, and specifically the progressive Democrats, is to force a vote on Medicare for All in the House of Representatives in order to prove that the establishment Democrats aren't real progressives. Now, this might sound appealing to a lot of people in the progressive base, but that's only something that sounds appealing if you accept a number of insanely false and stupid premises that we've debunked in the past. And by the way, this is not my opinion as somebody on the right. This isn't my opinion as a libertarian. What I'm giving you my opinion as is somebody that's in the camp that both Cenk and Jimmy Dore are in that they want Medicare for All passed into law. And I'm explaining why this is a bad strategy based on taking that position. First and foremost, the false assumption that is leading to them demanding this vote on Medicare for All is that the majority of the American people are in favor of a Medicare for All program. As we've talked about multiple times, despite the fact that the top line poll numbers will indicate that the American people do support Medicare for All, whenever you delve into the specific polling on specific features of a Medicare for All program, it turns out that what people are actually saying they're in favor of is the public option, not Medicare for All as it's known to people who actually understand policy. You can look at the polling, I will link it in the description box below, but even among the Democrats, they are not in favor of Medicare for All. They much preferred Joe Biden's healthcare plan, which is to build on Obamacare and add a public option, to Bernie's Medicare for All plan. By the way, this is why Bernie Sanders ended up losing to Joe Biden, because Joe Biden had the more popular healthcare plan. This is why Joe Biden, by the way, beat all of the other Democrats who at one point or another were in favor of Medicare for All, because his plan consistently polled better among Democratic primary voters, the people most enthusiastic about the party, than Bernie Sanders or any other version of Medicare for All. So already the strategy is based on bad intelligence. The idea that the American people or the majority of even Democrats are in favor of this healthcare change is completely wrong and based on misreading polling data. So they're operating on the premise that they can steamroll the establishment Democrats on this issue, when in reality, they're not the majority of popular support on this issue, they're in the minority. Number two, even if this were to pass, even if Democrats in the House of Representatives voted for this and decided to go with the minority of the base of their party, rather than the majority that are not in favor of Medicare for All, it wouldn't go anywhere. Mitch McConnell controls the Senate and President Trump is still in office. Even if by some ungodly miracle this were to make it past the Senate, President Trump would likely veto it. So this is a completely pointless exercise that is only for symbolic points. It's not going to do anything of substance to pass or forward the Medicare for All agenda. Number three, there are two Senate runoff races in the state of Georgia that the Democrats need to win both of in order to have a majority in the United States Senate and be able to get any type of reform whatsoever passed, even the smallest, because then the Senate won't be controlled by Mitch McConnell. So this plan, even if it were to pass in the House of Representatives, would basically be taking a dump on those two Senate campaigns, because the Republicans would run on the Democrats trying to take over healthcare, trying to socialize the economy, and you're just giving them that gift prior to their runoff election, which the Democrats absolutely need in order for Joe Biden and the House of Representatives to get anything done at all. And finally, if the Democrats do not pass this, then the progressive base of the Democratic Party is going to be really pissed off because they're the ones who actually want Medicare for all. And even though they are a minority of the Democratic Party, the fact is the Georgia Senate races are expected to be incredibly close, and having those people be non-enthusiastic about the candidates and not potentially getting Medicare for all will likely lead to a certain percentage of them not showing up for these runoffs. And these runoffs are already set up poorly for Democrats who tend to vote in major presidential elections more than these minor statewide elections, or what are seen to be minor statewide elections, even though this, of course, will determine whether or not the Democrats have full control of the federal government or just partial control and the Republicans can hold back the Democratic agenda. So yeah, while I don't like Cenk Uygur or Jimmy Dore, it's important to point out that Jimmy Dore is significantly dumber than Cenk Uygur when it comes to this argument. He's fighting for nothing. He's fighting for a symbolic victory and just throwing bombs at all of his old friends, even though what he's trying to do will have no positive impact for the Democratic Party or for the cause of forwarding Medicare for all. But Jimmy doesn't seem to care because from what I can tell, he's actually dumber than Cenk and an egomaniac. Look at this tweet exchange that he had with Cenk Uygur talking about how he was on the Young Turks to give the Young Turks progressive credentials. And Cenk Uygur responds, and you know me, I'm not prone to agree with Cenk, by pointing out that nobody in progressive media knew who Jimmy Dore was before he was on the Young Turks. So in reality, the Young Turks gave Jimmy Dore progressive credentials. I hate to break it to all you Jimmy Dorks out there, but this is objectively true. The Young Turks was an established brand before Jimmy Dore ended up on their platform, and Jimmy Dore used that platform in order to gain popularity for himself, and then when it was clearly more viable for him to go out on his own, that's exactly what he did. For all you people who are like, Jimmy Dore left the Young Turks because Jimmy Dore has principles and he disagreed with Cenk and he's not a corporate man, that's complete and total nonsense. Jimmy Dore left the Young Turks for the reason that all the talent end up leaving whatever organization that they're at, and that's because he could make way more money and have way more success than the Young Turks could possibly pay him. It's this basic truth about the economics of social media influencers that explains why Tomi Lahren left The Blaze. It explains why Cenk's nephew decided to go with Twitch full-time. It explains that whole Barstool Sports versus those two girls on their podcast, and it explains completely why Jimmy Dore went on his own as compared to being behind a paywall at the Young Turks. His financial potential was not being reached as an employee, so he decided to go become self-employed.
Everybody sees through the squad now. And why AOC? I'm telling they're pushing her out there because she's the most sympathetic. And so idiots can say, stop attacking her when she is standing between you and healthcare and protecting Nancy Pelosi and her career.
I'm so tired of getting comments under my videos about how Jimmy Dore is more principled than the other people in the progressive media because he's more ignorant and angry on camera. It's like all you have to do on the internet to be called principled is talk about how you're against the wars, support a popular internet candidate, and lash out and talk about how the Democratic establishment is your true enemy and we should never compromise with the Democrats, even if it means we never get anything done ever. Jimmy Dore is just the leftist parallel version of what never-Trumpers are on the right. He's just a bomb thrower, and people mistake his false, unjustified righteous indignation for principle when it's not. It's just emotion, and emotion erroneously aimed at random people that honestly he probably shouldn't be attacking. And while it's fun and I enjoy it and I'll make fun of it and I'll read it over and I'll retweet it on Twitter, in reality, except for on speech issues like social media censorship, Jimmy Dore is objectively worse and more farther left, more radical than Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks. Just because Jimmy Dore says he likes Tulsi Gabbard, endless wars should be ended, and we shouldn't be policing based on content social media posts, should not let you forget that when people talk about the Young Turks inspiring violence against the police, the Young Turk that they're talking about was Jimmy Dore. And if you're not familiar with that situation, if you're not familiar about Jimmy Dore baselessly and incorrectly speculating that a police officer attack on a white woman was actually an attack on a black woman, and him encouraging people to stand up physically to the police led to tragic results, then you better look that one up for yourself before you tell me that Jimmy Dore is more principled than your average progressive. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, then show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media. You can support me via the support links in the description box. This has been me talking about the Cenk, Jimmy, and Kasparian Young Turks vs. Jimmy Dore fight and why it's hilarious. Till next time.